Good evening to you, Mark Sudduth, HurricaneTrack.com, here with your Hurricane Pro and HD video blog for the 20th of September 2017. What a day it has been. It began, at least here in Puerto Rico, with this radar image. This is the last radar shot that was taken from the TJUA. That is the call sign for the San Juan radar site, which is right here. That's where the radar site is. We don't know exactly what happened, but this is the last image that was transmitted from that site. And as you can see, the outer wind maxima was heading over that area, the outer eye wall, and then what was left of the inner eye wall. Luckily, if you can say that, and I guess you can, Maria was weakening from a strong Category 5 down to just below Category 5 intensity in terms of the wind. But the rainfall that has plagued the area with these incredible bands, definitely a huge problem. Massive flooding, mudslides, raging rivers. It's just a horrible situation. And this is what it looks like here as the sun sets to a very dark Puerto Rico down here, as well as Vieques and St. Croix. And look at that overshooting top right there. Towering thunderstorm. Luckily it's over the water, but it's between Anguilla and parts of the British Virgin Islands over here. Just an amazing yet very painful scene down in Puerto Rico as a massive hurricane strikes the area. Now Maria is moving off to the west-northwest to northwest and should track close to this region up here over the next several days, bringing possible hurricane conditions to the Turks and Caicos Islands. And we can see that reflected in the official forecast from the National Hurricane Center as Maria moves off to the northwest here. And then it is forecast to turn north and supposedly north-northeast here, maybe on out to sea between Bermuda and Cape Hatteras. We will see about that. A lot is going to have to do with what happens with Jose and how far east it gets and how much ridging builds back in. But this is a glimpse at the spaghetti models, as we call them. And you can see on the right-hand side of the envelope versus the left-hand side of the guidance envelope, a pretty decent spread here, not as tightly clustered at days 4 and 5. So it certainly bears watching, especially in eastern North Carolina, right up here, the Outer Banks especially, and maybe even parts of the Mid-Atlantic and New England. At the very least, as Maria moves up through here, it will generate those swells again that will come out and radiate towards the coast, bringing more high surf, more beach erosion, and maybe even more overwash with time. And we're going to have to just watch and see, does this cluster move to the west enough with time? Does the ridge build in more and move Maria more to the western side of this envelope, maybe even enough to bring the core close to the Outer Banks of North Carolina? It doesn't seem probable at this point, but it's not completely unlikely, if that makes any sense. It's not like this is 100% certain that it's going to turn out to sea, put it that way. And speaking of Jose, this is what this looks like this evening. Still moving generally east-northeast to northeast. And it's going to be interesting if it heads out farther than forecast and then kind of drops south or whatever. You know, water temperatures out here pretty cold. The vorticity, the overall energy in the atmosphere relative to what's normally there. This is occupying space in the atmosphere that knocks the heights down, and so there's just not this big old ridge of high pressure sitting out here to force Maria in towards Florida. That is not the case. And so we have to just see if Jose moves a little bit more to the east than was thought, then this ridge gets to build in a little bit more, and Maria comes a little bit more west before making that turn. And so folks up and through here should certainly keep an eye on what happens with Maria. You don't need me to tell you that. It's hurricane season. You should be doing that anyway. But we definitely need to keep watch over the next few days. I think we will know between the next 3 days, 2 to 3 days or so. All right, we'll be watching it closely. Of course, you can follow along Hurricane Pro on Twitter. And social media interaction is fantastic this day and age. And you have a lot of great tools to track along inside of the apps as well. So I encourage you to do that. You've got a powerful set of tools before you. Make sure you take advantage of that. That's it from me for this evening. I am Mark Sudduth, HurricaneTrack.com, for Hurricane Pro and HD, of course, and I'll have more for you starting tomorrow.